we are talking about the civil society, so I really want to appreciate everyone being here because those people who actually know and understand Ukraine stay till the end, because Ukraine is about civil society and Ukraine is about the civil society is about the change. So this is really an important panel. Just a few things that I wanted to outline briefly, and then we can during the Q&A session we can go in greater detail. First, it's really a unique case that we have in the transforming world where the civil society plays such an incredible role. And that is actually something that happens in a country with high literacy rate. This is something that happens in a country where many people assume that they are actors, and at the same time their values, their upbringing, their education allows them to be actors. And this is very important when we're talking about the transformation in the former Soviet Union. It's important that these two meet: ability to be an actor and willingness to be an actor. And Ukraine is the country where a critical mass of these people have met. And what happened as a result is a huge change that was not actually turned, and this is important to understand, it did not turn against Yanukovych. It turned against the government that was not accountable, which is a message to any other government, to any next government, particularly to the government that was introduced yesterday. Guys, if you're not accountable, we're going to take you down. And the civil society actually plays right now a strange role because it's not really a civil society. You see, this is the case when the business is not really business in Ukraine because many businesses assume the roles of the civil society. Then the civil society is not really civil society because they very often assume the role of the government. The government is not really the government because it very often assumes the role of the criminals. The criminals are not really the criminals because they have too much competition. So basically, what the civil society does, it undermines a lot of state functions. It cannot do that forever because it has its own flaws and it has its own design problems. But what we see that it can play during crucially important times because it has one thing which is pretty much a magic pill in Ukraine. It has trust. Trust is something that is destroyed by insecurity. Insecurity is the word to describe the societies of the former Soviet Union. First of all, Ukraine, primarily Ukraine, but then also Russia, then also other countries, each in its own way. And what insecurity does, it destroys trust, so citizens cannot contact each other, cannot communicate to each other, cannot establish common action through horizontal contacts. The civil society in Ukraine has managed to overcome this, and it is the supplier of trust in the Ukrainian system, so basically in the Ukrainian governance system. So basically what we see right now in Ukraine, we see that the civil society is really an actor that is more capable with regard to trust, with regard to communicating and persuading the society more than others. In this sense, it's important, in my opinion, to understand, and I'll be probably I'll be more blunt by saying that the real coalition that we enjoyed in Ukraine is not the coalition of the 2 or 3 or 5 political parties. This was the coalition of the civil society and the Western governments. And that coalition is the coalition responsible for reforms. And it's great because most of the reforms, as a matter of fact, were designed in Kyiv. And because they were designed in Kyiv, they were perfectly adjusted to the existing environment. And now what we have is we have another government that will also have to accept that they are actually in a very narrow corridor by the same members of the coalition, by the civil society and by the Western governments. Now, my last thing that I wanted to say is that it's incredibly important to understand that security is the key criteria through which we can see whether the situation is improving or not improving. And security is the factor that allowed the civil society actually to start playing in Ukraine. The people, these different sociological surveys that we use showed that we were talking about anywhere to 4, 5, 7%, very small percentage of the Ukrainian public. That part of the society that has managed to resolve their own security challenges by being multilingual, by being well educated, by being very open, by being globalized, they actually wanted greater opportunities, and they managed to get these greater opportunities in Ukraine by transforming the country where they are. The great majority of the population of Ukraine lives in very insecure environment. They're actually practicing the survival values. Survival values are opposite, diametrically opposite from development values, from self-expression values. So actually, if we do not bring security inside, if we do not bring security through rules of the game, through rule of law, through access to justice, through equal opportunities, if we do not bring external security through end of this war, we will not have the transformation here. And the civil society, which has helped Ukraine in the first 2 years, can continue play an important role, but it cannot substitute the government. Eventually, we have to build our own institution. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Yevhen.